providence and the problem of evil. The all things of Romans 8:28 must necessarily include evil things. It's a massive subject, and we're not going to be able to explore it in detail today. But the fact is this: God uses evil to bring about his own good purposes. We need only to cite a few examples from the Scripture. Each one is very familiar to you. And the first example is Job. Unbeknown to Job, who was going about his daily business, God and Satan were having a conversation about him. As a matter of fact, it was God who brought him up. Have you considered my servant Job? There's no one like him. Good man. Satan says, what? He's only good because you protect him. Take your protection away, we'll see how good he is. And of course we know what happens. God gave Satan permission to attack Job in an attempt to break him. In allowing Satan that freedom, what did God know? Well, God knew that Satan would kill Job's children, to cause them to be killed. He knew that Satan would cause Job to lose all his possessions, to be cursed by his wife, to suffer terrible pain and agony because of the diseases that were brought upon him. God knew those things and decreed that they would happen in giving permission to Satan. In his great sufferings, of course, Job says what? The Lord gave, the Lord has taken away. Blessed be the name of the Lord. And the Scripture says in all these things, Job did not sin because he did not charge God with wrong. He did not charge God with wrong. Job knew where the ultimate authority lay. It was with God. Now the whole story reveals some of Job's human weaknesses. His faith wavered, but it was never lost, even through the great suffering. To what end did God use those great evils? To confound Satan, to exalt his own glory, and to deepen Job's understanding of who God is. You see, Job could never understand who God is without going through those terrible, terrible times. At the end of Job, what does he say? I knew about you, heard about you, now I see, and worshipped. God used evil to bring about ultimate good. All things work together for good to those who love God and are called according to his purpose. Joseph's brothers were jealous of him and sold him into slavery in Egypt. While there, Joseph was falsely accused of attempted rape and thrown into prison for years. This added insult to injury. He was an innocent guy, thrown into a pit, sold into slavery, thrown into prison. But God had a purpose for all those nasty things that happened to Joseph. Years later, there was a famine, and the brothers had to go to Egypt in search of food, only to find out that Joseph was prime minister and in charge of all the affairs of Egypt, and they were afraid that he would take revenge. What did Joseph say? God sent me ahead of you to preserve your life. You meant it for evil, but God meant it for good. God used evil to bring about good for his people. He works all things together for good. Those who love him